What's up, YouTubers? So this last weekend I went up to XP Racing in Oklahoma City, and I'm leaving the bank and it's busy. Paid a visit to my buddy Brett and his couple of co-workers and got the LS1 dropped out of the Firebird. And in doing that, there wasn't really any big surprises. Everything came out pretty smoothly. He's got it down to an art as far as getting the thing all disconnected and pulling the car up and dropping the cradle onto a big oversized metal table he's got. Makes life really easy. So I've got a slew of parts that I'm going to put up for sale. I'm going to sell the headers off of it. May already have a buyer for those. I've actually got a friend of mine that's building a 68 Camaro. It's his wife's dad's old car, and he's buying the LS1 from me, so that turned out really good. Told him about it recently, told him I was going to be pulling it out, and he made me an offer and I took it. So he's going to put that in the 68, which will be pretty awesome. So as I mentioned before in the other video, the LS1 that was in this car was not numbers matching, which they don't really numbers match them, I don't think. I mean, I guess they could, but on this LS1 I didn't notice any VIN numbers, but it did come from a dealer, so maybe that was why. So I'm not really worried about keeping this car original. If it had lower miles on it, like I mentioned before, I might be more concerned, but at this point in the game, it's going to be fully modified. So the transmission looked like it was the stock trans. Didn't really run any numbers on it to match anything, but it appears to be the stock T56, had an LS7 clutch installed, which I was told that's what it was, and sure enough that's what it was. Had an adjustable master cylinder. Fast intake will be sold, that's on the top of the motor. My buddy's just buying the long block. Luckily there was a clamp in the rear exhaust section that goes over the axle tube, so didn't have to cut any exhaust. That was good, made life easier and faster. So here's a little clip of the shop and getting the car apart. Just kind of shot this walking around. As you can see, everything's kind of torn down, the car's in the air. Just a little underside video of the car. Not rusted at all. It's a great shaped car. Really happy with the car altogether now that I've had it on the lift and really got a chance to take it apart and look at it. So here's the engine bay. It's naked. Car's back to the house. Got it flipped around so I can start pulling the rear end out of it. Gonna do that soon. Got plans to put a different rear diff in the thing, whole new rear axle. So that'll be coming up. Gonna clean up a little bit under the hood. Gonna do a little painting. We'll clean it up, and that'll be another video as well. I've had some time lately to start going through the 5.3 I bought, and it's looking pretty good. So here is the L33 5.3 I picked up from Moffett, Oklahoma at a yard out there. Everything you see came with the engine, came with the wiring harness, came with the plugs, the wires, the coils, the exhaust manifolds, the rat's nest on top. All came with the motor. Don't need any of that stuff, but you know, it's as complete as you can get. Oil pan, front accessories, you name it, it's all there. I guess they did pull off the starter and the alternator, that's about it. And power steering. Everything else is there. It's got the water pump and the accessory brackets. Won't need any of that stuff. It's going to be stripped down to pretty much bare bones. I'm going to take everything off of it, look it all over, make sure the bearings look good from what I can see. Make sure everything is good to go. Hopefully, crossing all my fingers that everything will look good and turn out all right. I pulled the accessories off. There's a little video here of me really diving into it, taking the top of the motor apart, and I'll play it in fast forward so you can kind of see what I'm doing. It's a little bit slow and tedious, but I'll try and make it not so boring. So sadly, my camera that I was using to capture the disassembly of the engine kind of had issues, and I didn't get the majority of the teardown of the 5.3. I left off taking the coil packs and valve covers off. Took the coils off, valve covers, exhaust manifolds, played some exhaust manifold roulette, and went 10 for 12. Two of the bolts, one of the bolts was actually already broken off, the head was just broken off a bit toward the back. Another one popped off when I was trying to take the manifolds off, so got those off. So it was a rebuilt 5.3. Got a couple of tags that are glued to the block. I guess the glue is supposed to be like a heat type glue where if it overheats the warranty is voided maybe. Anyway, here's a shot of that. I pulled the heads off the motor. The heads looked okay. Both sides looked alright. Nothing really catastrophic looked wrong with the motor. Everything in it looked solid. So the heads are coming off and they're going to my buddy that's the machinist. He's going to go through them, make sure they look good, pull those bolts out for me, get those, make sure those holes are good, and then he'll go ahead and put on a set of pack 12-18 springs. The cam I'm going with won't be over 600 lift, so I think these springs will do just fine. I think I'm going to take my chances with these cam bearings also. The cam that came out of it looks great. No abnormal wear on any of the lobes or anything. I think I'm just going to send it, as they say. The cam I went with is one that can be had on eBay for around $260. I think I paid like $259, $258 for it. It's an Elgin cam. The specs are 220, 224, I believe 585 lift across the board with a 112 plus 4 lobe separation. So I think it should work well in A, should work well with boost, should work well, really pretty well in a 5.3. It's a good well-rounded cam, not a lot of overlap, so it won't be bleeding off much boost, and I think it'll serve me well. So here's some video of me installing that camshaft. So here I am unboxing the Elgin cam. As I mentioned before, and sorry I sound like I'm half asleep in the other part of the video. I was not feeling well that day. I was dealing with a bad headache. Anyway, it's a 220, 224, 585, 585, 112 plus 4, which is a 108 intake center line. So it already has timing basically in the cam, so it should work well.
This is me applying a degreaser to the cam just to get the assembly, I guess it wouldn't really be assembly lube, but it's the lube that they use, it's just an oil that they use on the cam whenever they go through the grinding process, and then to keep it lubricated in transit. Just thought it might be a good idea to clear that stuff off of there. And I made sure to wipe it dry so there wasn't any residue left of the purple power stuff I used. I just used a little bit on a towel, so it wasn't extensive, it wasn't really heavy, shouldn't hurt anything. So I used this really cool lubricant. I don't remember what it's called. I got it from my machinist buddy. It's very sticky and it's very persistent. So I ran it all around each lobe and each journal of the cam. Went around the whole thing, speed it up a little bit here so it doesn't take so long. Just went all the way around it, every lobe, everything got it, and then I went ahead and smeared it all around, all the way up and down the thing. Thought to myself, you know, this is silly, I'll just use my gloves and get it all over my hands, just rub it on down, get it all lubed up, and ready to slide in. Cool stuff about this, like I said, it's very persistent, so it'll last even if this engine sits on the stand for a year or longer. I hope it won't be that long, but you never know. I wanted to make sure I used something that would work well and stick around and not run off and dry out. So here I am, taking my sweet time, sliding this jewel of a camshaft into this old, decrepit old motor. Hope it's not decrepit. Like I said, it looked awesome, so we'll cross all our fingers and toes that it's in as good a shape as it looks. Obviously going real slow, try not to nick or even touch the bearings. I was trying to not slide anything, just be as gentle and cautious as I could about this. Probably going slower than I really needed to, but I remember that last lobe right there toward the end here. It's like, oh, I'm not quite sure. Okay, there it goes. So I could have used water pump bolts, but I used the closest bolts I had, which I think were just the cam bolts. Didn't feel like digging through boxes. A little more leverage on the end of that cam would have been easier to slide that last spot in right there. But there it goes, slides on in, and we're at home. Mint, done, sweet. Ran some bolts in, backed it in and out, spun it around real good, made sure everything got lubed inside there, degloved, and we're about done with this sucker, at least for this night, in this video. What I didn't get video here is it ends before I put the chain on. I realized that the chain had a little more slack than I liked, so I just reused the sprockets and ordered a separate chain.
So I got the heads back from Wes, my buddy that's the machinist. They look fantastic. He vatted them, got them all cleaned up, got the springs installed for me, and got those bolts fixed, so they're ready to go. Ordered up some LS9 head gaskets I'm going to use on the engine. Also ordered up some LS7 lifters that will just really provide for an insurance purpose, I guess. I mean, I could have run the stock lifters, they may not be that bad, but I don't know. Went ahead and ordered some exhaust gaskets, some ARP bolts, just various bolts. Bought some ARP cam bolts. Not a big fan of the stockers, just because my buddy that's the machinist has seen a couple instances where they backed out, or he's seen them break before, which is rare, but if it can happen, I don't want to deal with it. You know, $17, so not a big deal. So now that we've got the heads off, got the oil all drained out of it, Gonna pull the truck pan off, flip the motor over, and take a look at the bottom end and see what it looks like. The bottom end is super clean. I'm really happy with it. There's no sludge residue, nothing major going on, nothing crazy looking. The bearings look good from what we can tell. In the next video, go through cam selection, how that affects converter selection, as well as rear gear. So that'll be the next video. But until then, I hope you've enjoyed checking out my motor, checking out these pictures, and you know, seeing the process of taking things out and taking things apart. So I've got some big plans for it. Keep me busy all summer long and probably into the fall. Shooting to have the car running in the fall or winter this year, 2018. But if it doesn't happen, next spring's fine too. I just want to make sure I take my time, do everything as right as I can, use all the best parts I can, and basically everything I touch I want to clean up and make it look nice. So just trying to make the car as spotless as possible, just a clean install all the way around. That's the goal. So anyway, thanks for watching, and please click subscribe, like the video, and check out the others. Have a good one.